We just discovered that the stairwell we took out is 7 feet shorter than what it showed on the plans. And now every single steel beam that we have to put back in to support the building is a puzzle. Everything we thought we knew about this property turned out to be wrong. Let me show you what happened and how we solved the problems. That's right, we discovered that the measurements of this building were off, and the steel columns didn't line up with the concrete tees that needed to support the entire structure when this temporary shoring comes out. I'm converting this 1970s office building in downtown Louisville into SuperStay's newest residential style boutique hotel. Let me show you around. This week, we installed these critical steel supports that increase the safety of the structure while we're building this property back into a hotel. But nothing's going the way it should. By the end of this video, I'll show you the solutions that kept this project on track and why measuring behind drywall is like doing surgery blindfolded. It just doesn't work. Here's what was so difficult about the column. When we originally measured where they were behind drywall and there were tenants on the first floor. So the architects had to make educated guesses. And it wasn't until we finished demo that we figured out exactly where they landed in the space. Now look, I've laid out where the walls were originally supposed to go on the plans with these metal tracks right here. But in reality, once we measured it out, we have the red chalk lines is where they landed. And that doesn't work. The week started off great. The ironworkers started with putting in these steel support columns, but then they quickly ran into an issue. They put in the I-beams that support the bottom of the concrete tees. And then they realized that they could not put in the floor joist support I-beam because the concrete tees were in the way. So what we did was we sent an RFI out to the structural engineer and with basically a reversal of what he originally drew. But then Thursday, something interesting happened. After our architect came for a visit to review the measurements between the columns that he couldn't originally get when he was drawing the plans. And he came up with some really interesting solutions. Let me tell you about that. We're up here on the second floor. I thought the visuals would be a little better since they put this track down today just to see how it would lay out, give us some time to make some adjustments. Here's what we came up with the architect. Instead of this Jack and Jill bathroom layout that you see here, we were gonna take this block of bathroom and bedroom and hallway, like downstairs that we were just talking about, and basically separate it from this bedroom right here. Separate it from this bedroom. And then we would have a hallway here. And so that hallway moves over here, and this bathroom and this bedroom move to this demising wall in between units. That way we can fix the problem with the columns that we talked about in the bedroom and in the hallway. This week was all problem solving. I tried to be present and on site as much as possible so the contractor could ask me questions and we could clear the way and move the project forward. I didn't want them waiting around on me because there were so many issues this week and they were all critical. Here's something I didn't expect this week. Yeah, that. And I didn't notice it until the steelworkers were here. When Steve and I were assessing how we would put the floor joists in to fill the holes here that we created by taking out the stairwell, and it occurred to me after a little bit of like how annoying it was while Steve and I were trying to have a conversation, I realized that someone could be down here in the men's bathroom and you would hear that all the way on the second floor and definitely on the first floor. What we're gonna do is we're gonna cut the floor out, and when our mason is here next week, he's just gonna fill the poles with grout until they're all the way up, and that'll dry and they won't make any more noise and they'll be really solid. Once the framers laid down the track and we were kind of happy with most of the layout, one of them grabbed the ram set, which had 3 settings, green, yellow, and red. And he tried all 3 settings to shoot the nails into the concrete, but none of them worked. And so that made him go and get his hammer drill. He began trying to drill out the concrete. And the reason he was doing this was concrete gets harder as it ages. So this concrete's over 50 years old and the ram set probably was not gonna work. So he wanted to make sure that he had the right supplies and materials in order to attach this track to the ground when the time came and we got the permit to do so. Laying out this track to make sure that we had all the placement correctly in the way we wanted it and we could really visualize it. We had seen the chalk lines, but it still wasn't the same as having, you know, a bit of a 3D look at it. Once they did this, we found that we may not actually want washers and dryers in the units. It doesn't look like it takes up a lot of space, but once you put a bed in this room, you really can't functionally do anything along this wall because you have a door that opens here and really kills that entire wall. And then over here, you'd have a bed, and it really kills like this extra foot around this space. So it doesn't just take up this square, it really kind of takes up all this side of the bedroom. If we remove these washers and dryers from the 3 units on each floor, I think it'll free up a ton of space and make the living situation in these bedrooms much better. I think it's just an Airbnb specific thing that people expect to have a washer and dryer, but when was the last time you were at a hotel that had a washer and dryer in the room? It's always in a common area with the vending machine and the ice machine. And we're permitting as a hotel, so why wouldn't we do the same? We're gonna put them behind locked doors. That way people feel secure about using them if there's other guests in the building. What did I learn this week? Never trust the measurements from behind drywall. This week's crisis could have cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars if we hadn't caught it till we were way down the road. We would have been moving walls, changing mechanicals, and this could have gone really poorly if an inspector had come in, say we had gotten through rough in, put up drywall, and we're here for our final inspection and they say, oh, that one hallway doesn't work because it's less than 28 inches, then we really have a problem and it delays the project. So I was really thankful that we were able to catch these problems early, get them solved with $0 solutions today.
Well, okay.
Here's the thing, every old building has its problems. It's not if you're gonna have a problem, it's how you're gonna pivot when you have a problem to a viable solution. And I think we demonstrated how we did that well this week. Next week, we remove these temporary supports and find out if our steel fix actually works. Plus, will the building permit finally show up? If you're following this hotel transformation, make sure you like and subscribe because next week, we're either gonna start framing or you're gonna see a project dead in the water. Drop a comment below. Would you move the laundry to the basement or would you keep it in the unit? I'm just curious, what do you think about this call? See you next week.